He's one of the first guys to join. So yeah, here we are
Yeah,
again
once again,
on.
it's a free flowing Saturday. It's really free flowing because we really didn't discuss our topics. So chances are we'll just get in and start looking at each other. We sema kitu bwana.
We'll wing it as we go along.
As we normally say, for those who guys who chew mira, we'll say kila tawi na story yake.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Uh, is
Anyway,
this who's trying to call me? I will call them later. Okay, so yes, so welcome back. I think we are back again. Free Flowing Saturdays number 6. And yeah, it's great to be back again. I was actually today in the afternoon, I was like, oh man, will I do this thing again?
I
And I
think
realized,
I was thinking that I was sitting somewhere and say, I this week has been very challenging for me. My my moods are low. Then I thought, listen, my man, are we driven by moods? No. Are we driven by hormones? No.
yes.
We agreed that you are going to come. Even if I come here feeling puny, listen, just push on, push on. If
And I guess that's,
I listen to Andrew Tate, he
yeah.
says
Hmm.
when he like in his operations, it's only 25% that he operates with encouragement. 75% is push because 75% he doesn't feel like doing what he does, especially during his time in the boxing. Dennis Ngugi, welcome aboard, welcome on board. Thank you very much for showing up. Hello, hi. So we are just touching on Dennis. We are just touching on this particular live. Um, like it was just like coincidence. Andrew didn't feel like joining today. I had some this week. There was a mixing. There was a what you call a culmination of negative events. So on this day, I felt like, man, this thing, let it go. But then again, I come to the stark realization: men are driven by doing something because it has to be done, not
It
because I
has to be.
feel like doing, not because I'm not in the mood. And I was actually making a reference to Andrew Tate, especially during his days in kickboxing.
Mm.
It's only during 25% of that time is when he felt like training. 75% it was training by force. You force yourself by necessity. I have to go get kicked or kick someone because I have to. 25% was on feeling like encouragement. So those days you don't feel like doing, then you should actually do it. And it's actually a sense of triumph when you actually finish doing something that you never felt like doing. Because at the end of the day, you're like, I did it. Man. I did it. Because if we rely on feeling like doing something, the system is tailor-made to make you not feel like doing something. There are actually very, very few organizations in the world where employees feel like going to work.
Mm.
Like where I used to work before, I got kicked off. Monday morning, you're like, or if I'm on night shift, you should be the bus will be at stage by 6:30. By 5, you're like, hey, I have to go there again.
Yeah.
Now that one, you are under the push of your employer. Now imagine pushing yourself.
Hmm.
That is the ultimate discipline. You do not
It's the
feel like
ultimate.
doing. And in fact, there are a lot of logic that comes in where you convince yourself that you don't need to do it. So you did it yesterday. So it's all about internal discipline, internal drive, internal push. If you rely on encouragement, chances are you'll stumble and fall, you'll collapse. So it's all about internal pushing, putting yourself out there. Like now, we have only one listener, but we keep on pushing it as though we are dealing with millions upon millions of fans, right?
Even when we don't have one. Sorry.
Keep going.
We can go on and do our own discussion, me and you. So,
Mm.
actually, we first and foremost do this for ourselves.
Yeah. We do it for ourselves. The
You see,
moment
that's the thing.
the moment you tether yourself to the
Hmm.
opinions of others, day one, day two, you get good reviews. Day three, you get a very huge flood of negative reviews. Then you say, me, I don't want to show up today. People are talking shit about me. And that is how a channel dies.
Yes,
Mm,
exactly. When you look at the comments, and then they're like, you're just full of bullshit. Hey,
mm,
nothing there
mm.
you said was of value. Hey,
In
they'll
fact,
criticize everything. There's talk of, hey, what
mm,
kind of equipment are you using? You're so rudimentary. You're this and that. They will look out for any form of negativity to put you down.
I
But that's the thing. I think
remember the
tapping
late
into
great.
that aspect of
Mm,
actually doing it for yourself, I think is one of the most important thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
I remember the late great Kevin Samuels. He used to have
Mm,
in his channel. There was actually something called the Smoke Show. The Smoke
hmm
Show was a show that was particularly targeting criticism. You
hmm
only call in if you want to criticize.
Okay.
It's called the Smoke Show.
hmm
If you call him and you start praising what he's doing, he's going to cut you off. He might praise me tomorrow.
Okay.
Today, I I want people who are going to talk crap about me.
hmm
So I used to call the smoke show. So you keep pushing.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing to build on, that consistency, that thing of doing it even when you don't feel like it. And I don't know, maybe our cousin as our culture, that the culture that we now have seems to promote more of, you know do it when you feel like it. uh, there's a lot of that promotional aspect
It's a
of
dopamine drive.
living
It's
in.
a dopamine driven
Yes,
thing.
dopamine driven, dopamine driven, emotional driven, feeling. People talk of, oh, I feel like this is my feelings, my. There's we are promoting very much. Even whenever I hear of this term, do something that you're passionate about.
Passion, that is
I think
emotion.
it's emotion.
Hmm,
Sometimes you just have to get stuff done, and I think
hmm,
that's why our forefathers,
hmm,
I think they were sort of very much innately driven
hmm.
by the concept of, you're not driven by emotion, you're not driven by feelings. If you don't get out there and hunt and bring in some meat for the family, you're going to starve. The reality was so stark. The consequences were so immediate. But now, because we live in this culture where, where we are driven by emotions, and things are so simple and easy. You just need to go on YouTube and watch a video of somebody, giving you all the pep talk and the motivation that you need. And when you listen to it, you feel as though you've done it, but nothing. You've just immersed yourself into some just dopamine hit, and you've just cheated your mind. But in essence, the real hard work is still there, waiting for you to be waiting on you for it to be done. So.
I think when in fact, when you talked of people had to go out and hunt, I think we are looking at a situation of tough times creating tough people,
mm,
and tough
mhm,
people now creating easy times.
mm.
Hmm.
And easy
Uh,
times creating what? Weak people.
we are now in the easy times, and we are now getting weak.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
here where I am now, I can
hmm
say, I'll just eat some buns and margarine and take with tea and sleep. I don't have
hmm
to slot anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or
So
just
those
pick
with
up your
the
phone and do a dial delivery, and boom, in 10 minutes or so,
mm,
you'll have your hot cooked meal.
mm. Okay, Dennis Ngogi, no problem. Appreciate that. You can save the conversation. Watch it later. No problem. No problem. No problem. Much appreciated. We appreciate your presence, Mr. Ngugi. So, as I was saying, we are now in the easy times, but
Mm,
somehow more people are stressed in these easy times.
exactly.
Yeah, there's this so-called easy times. How come people are getting more stressed?
I never used to hear of this, like this term, mental health has
Mm,
become such a buzzword now. It's
mm,
now even now integrated in
mm,
corporations and
mm,
companies.
mm,
I think earlier it started off with this concept of wellness, and it's slowly now becoming mental health.
mm.
There's a lot of promotion of this, but if you think about it, and even the people I've noticed, some of the people that talk of mental health, I was depressed, I was this or that, are the people that seem to have come from even a very well off background. If you look at every sort of aspect of their life, there are people that had good jobs and all that. They seem to have it all. Yet, on the flip side, they are talking of mental health or being in depression or,
Spending
suffering.
spending
Yeah.
hundred
So,
thousand per month to see a psychiatrist.
yeah, even now, this whole therapies and psychologists and shrinks has become such a popular thing. Actually, we had a very good discussion yesterday on Diesel's space, where we were talking of, sometimes this constant chase for the truth. And Diesel was sharing his own experience, how is at one time was a Muslim. At one time, he was, a rowdy punkers guy who you had who had the tattoos. He had the entire look. So he's been consistently been in sort of a search for the truth. And I also shared my own experience. I think at one time I was telling them that there was a time that I decided, oh, what's this thing called Scientology thing? And I went through their website. I was even considering doing a trip down to SA. I think they have a church. The most closest church they have is in Arusha or somewhere. It's somewhere in Tanzania. But the places where they have a bigger presence is in South Africa. And particularly if you're caught up in this sort of personal development uh, push, it keeps you in a constant search for the truth, or for that hack, or for that message, or for that teacher or guru or motivational, whatever you may want to call it. And I realized this was such a wild goose chase, where you're out there thinking there's someone or an organization or a group that has a truth. But what it does in essence, and I think what a lot of the modern person is experiencing, is they're living so much in their heads, they are living so much in their imagination, and they are not grounded in reality. And I think that's what our fathers had that instinctively. And I guess probably it's a lack of options. It's probably a lack of all the creature comforts that now are everywhere and so easy to access. If you go into an apartment, you probably have, you have your fridge, you have your washer, you have all the creature comforts that will help make your life better. But what's happening? But then
Bless you.
again,
Mm.
life seems to be hard, supposedly hard,
You see,
because
I say this.
you're caught up in some imagination.
This when someone tells me that they are looking for the truth, I actually that's a very confusing statement. What truth are you looking for? And see, the truth is the opposite of a lie. So, what is the lie? See, you have to identify the lie. You have to say this is not true. Then let me look for the truth. Or this is a lie. Let me look for the truth. And some of these things, I think, when you are in a very comfortable place and your mind is fallow and you have not been challenged effectively. For example, um, if I become a billionaire and I have kids, and put the challenge the kids, listen, we are billionaires. You are going to make us multi-billionaires. You're not going to be sipping on this money that we've made. Because you have some of these people, the so-called the truth seekers. He comes from a house where everything is ready. He was bought his first car on his 18th birthday. The job he's working for is maybe he's working in a job that maybe his father connected to him. So he's very high up in the white collar sector. So everything is ready for him. He's in a company where he's given a department to head. He's not even building the department. He's simply part of a well-oiled machine. So obviously the mind will go haywire. You're not being challenged. So somebody has to take it. In fact, some of things these are scams set up to take advantage of rich folks who have nothing to do. Because when you tell me you're seeking for the truth, what truth are you seeking for? Who is
Yeah.
lying to you? Who is lying to you? Because if you are seeking for the truth, then you have already determined where the lie is. So where is the lie?
Mm.
You live in your own house. If it is a lie, then you'll be looking for the title deed. I'm looking for the truth of the title deed of my house because it is not. Somebody told me it's mine, but it's not mine. That is the truth worth seeking. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
account money has gone missing. You are looking for the truth about where the money is. You are looking for the truth about assets which are supposed to be in your name, but someone has changed. Now those are truths worth seeking for. But some of these things which are in the air that we normally say in Swahili, haina kichwa wala mkia. I don't know. You went to South Africa to look for the truth. You overflew Ethiopia, wherever all the countries that you fly over. Should
Exactly.
have told
You know,
the
I
pilot
did
to land there. Maybe there's a truth here. That truth dropped.
exactly.
So I
It,
think it looks like some sort of a system to make you go in some very, in the way a dog chases its own tail.
exactly.
It comes with expenses. You have to pay for a return ticket. You have to pay it for a hotel. Then probably you have to talk to an expert in matters concerning the truth. You have to form a club. You have to meet at a venue. All this is an ecosystem
Exactly.
uh,
It is. It is.
to drain
This
money
is
away from you. You
it's
have
an
to talk to a
industry.
shrink. Yeah, it's another ecosystem. Because look, one person is looking for Harambe to go for surgery, his heart. You are blowing hundreds of thousands every week or every month to go to someone to tell you you are okay, you are fine, there's nothing wrong with you, here's your motivation for the week. It's all an ecosystem to drain money. They have realized this guy has money and he has nothing to do with the money. So it's ecosystem because right now, if you are to say you want to set up a project for cloud seeding project for Northeastern, you are going to be very busy. If you want to set up a cloud seeding project for Northeastern, cloud seeding is expensive and it has to be tried over and over and over. So I assure you, you will really find a lot of truth there in why there's no rain in Northeastern. If you want to come up with some sort of a massive reforestation project for Taru Desert, you are going to be very, very busy. You are going to be so busy that you'll never think of going to a shrink. But now that your mind is idle and you have some extra money in your pocket, there's somebody there who's going to tap into that money. Then you have to spend, I don't know, we call it weekly therapy sessions. I don't know how much they charge, 30,000 per week. That's 120,000 shillings per month. If you can spend 120,000 shillings per month on your psychological issue, your motivational issues, that means you are rich but a lot of money to spend. So if we normally say ikiwa pesa inakuasha sana, very good. Start a project for rehabilitation of Nairobi River. You will be super, super busy. That river is as dirty as fuck. So if you are saying, let me commit these billions of money that is really, sema pesa inakuasha, start a project. You want to convert Nairobi River into, in 5 years' time, it should be a place for people to do fishing. I assure you, you'll be so busy in those 5 years. The time to think that you lack motivation, thinking that you are seeking the truth. My friend, the truth is it will be in that stinking water you're trying to rehabilitate. So I think this is an ecosystem tailor-made to take advantage of people who are rich but are not grounded mentally. In fact, I wanted around 3 years ago, we were discussing uh, we were discussing a project that takes advantage of people uh, who are not mentally grounded, but they have a lot of money. The idea was called the Nairobi Oxygen Cafe. We were to come up with a statement saying that owing to the high level of air pollution in Nairobi, it is affecting people's mentality and motivation. So we are starting something called Oxygen Cafe, whereby you breathe what you call purified 20% oxygen to freshen your bloodstream. So a total of cubicles which looked very nice with just normal air, with the flavor like strawberry and whatnot. And it would have made a lot of money, only that we got some sort of cold fingers because we didn't know the thing about it. But what is happening is that people are taking advantage of the fact that we are not mentally grounded. Because if these people are saying that they are looking for the truth and whatnot, you are in your 30s. You are not 10 or 5 or 4. You are in your 30s. You are chances are you are doing a business, you are heading a department. When you start talking of looking for the truth, what that really means that the people who are under you uh, are in danger. Imagine you are saying that I am looking for the truth, I can't know the truth, and you happen to be a pilot of an aeroplane. Au jamaa kukonde wako hatarini bwana. Yaani huyu jamaa hajielewi and is flying an aeroplane. So you need to be very
And
careful with some of these statements. Oh, I'm looking for the truth. I'm looking for clarity. Let's say you are a neurosurgeon and you have the guts to tell someone you are looking for clarity. I don't think I would want anyone, me or any of my loved ones, on your operating table. So that mental grounding is very very important, and I think we are suffering the effects of things being too easy.
yeah, I think one is things being too easy, and then this sort of um, too much information overload. Uh, Information is just easy, it's a lot. And as you say, I like that statement that you brought, being not being mentally grounded. That means somebody lacks an identity of their own. Because even in my search, when I kept looking out for something out there, I realized no, there's nothing like that. As you say, it's just chasing your tail. It's a wild goose chase. It will never take you anywhere. The truth lies in you. Build your own identity. But even much more, ground yourself, or rather, build your own identity and then ground yourself in reality. I just like the statement that Dennis put out here. He said, um, these are statements or excuses that people concoct to make them not do stuff. So these are, and typically you find with people that are plagued by procrastination,
Yeah.
people think, okay, I still need to, okay, I still need to gather this more information so that I can have the perfect sort of idea of how to move forward. Their analysis paralysis thing. But I is a friend who always told me this, and it is actually a very good statement. He said, "Always believe in action." I think action is what will tell you what other extra information that you need to now perfect your next step. So once you take that first step, once you engage yourself in action, once you come out of your mind, because again, this imagination, our minds are so powerful, but then again, you can get caught up in a different world.
I
um,
normally
the
say,
other thing that I
uh,
also feel
okay,
yeah, there's one more thing. there's
okay, yeah.
there's the other thing that I think people also, or the reason why we're having this mental health issues, is also the aspect of this computing world that we are in. I mean, if you think about it, people spend quite a bit of their time on the internet. So you're on this cyberspace, which I think is going to become another metaverse as they now bring in all the tools involved in virtual reality, mixed reality. So we are straddling between two worlds. There's a world here on the cyberspace, as we've seen with things like Twitter, where people create activisms. on or activism agendas on Twitter, and people think, the much I'm tweeting or the much I'm pushing my voice on the internet is the same as going out on the streets and doing actual picketing and protesting or whatever. That not many people can do the real protesting. So we are living in a world which cheats our mind that we are actually doing the work, when in reality we have not done anything, we have not produced anything. um, and because we are straddling these two worlds, spending about 5 hours on the cyberspace, then another 2 hours in the real world, that's where we're having that mental dissonance that's happening. And I think that's one of the reasons causing this thing, so-called mental health or whatever. Well, people just need to get out there, get your hands dirty, do something, be in action, more than ruminating in your mind, or gathering information online.
I think what's happening here is I could just point it towards lack of discipline. I remember I
Mhm.
was in a group. I was brought in a WhatsApp group. Uh, People like matters technology, especially transport technology. So these guys, I used to interact them with them on Facebook. Then I was put in a group around 5 or 7 guys. So I thought initially something can come out of that group. So the first thing I noticed when people go into that, when I was brought into that WhatsApp group, the first conversation I stumbled upon, they were talking about a woman, a lady, and the conversation became a bit of a sexual nature and whatnot. I said, okay, let me just not dismiss people from the word go. This may be just a by the way or something. So let me just follow along. Went through it. Then I started, okay, let me start posting my ideas on how we can do things, what not. And a good number of the guys are people who are well pocketed. So my thinking is that maybe I can put something there, people can run with it. The guys with the money, you can do something. Those of us who are shallow pocketed, we can just come and serve tea. But I know my idea is being carried along. But each time you post something, it gets shot down or it is criticized with you can criticize, then you give what we call an alternative. In place of this, do this. It went on. Then something happened. I think they were doing a changeover on something. Something was happening with the administration. People were sort of they were being moved to another group, and I was left out. And that was an hallelujah moment for me. I said, hey, it's good I'm not there anymore. So what is happening is that people are getting into these online groupings and they form what we call an orbiting group, whereby you are always orbiting over some ideas, but when it comes to taking off or trajecting into doing nothing. So I normally put it upon myself. If I'm in a group and a discussion goes for over 4 months and nothing has been done, or maybe somebody say even something as elementary as saying, listen, we've been meeting on okay, let's say we are all in Nairobi, but you can say once a month, well, let's meet physically, because a physical meeting will put you to accountability. Listen, you said A, B, C, D. Where are we on that? So if you find yourself in a grouping, in a cyber group, that one you have not met for a while, or nothing substantial has been discussed, jump out. Especially groups which talk big. There's somebody, a friend of mine, who actually was given a very nice invite to our WhatsApp group. A group of people who want to launch. I'm not familiar with the issue of space, but they were talking of, there's deep space, outer space, and I don't know what space. So there's the lowest space. They are talking of launching vehicles into that lower part of the space. And the narrative looked so fantastic and it was big talk. So that friend of mine jumped in and it only took him 1 week to realize this is bullshit. And when you look at the threads are so long. People are talking big and nothing is happening. So it's all about discipline. If something, let's say in your line of work, what you call resource planning, you bump into a group of people engaged in resource planning, and you are doing your back and forth and back and forth, and you realize while you are there, 4 months down the line, there's nothing you've learned, there's no value addition, and the group is deviating into what you call a cyber gossip shop. Jump out. So that is what is killing us. We get into these groupings. That is why I know it's not that I'm praising Andrew Kibe. Outside Andrew Kibe, there's and that session we used to have on Fridays. I've never been part of any other space, because whatever I grow, we get to in the Andrew Kibe is so exhaustive. You feel that this is it. I tried joining. I think it was a Nigerian thing. I think it was from Nigeria. I popped in. Is like you walked into, when people are in a bar fight, then you open your door,
Yes.
put your head inside, where you see things flying all over the place. I was there for 5 seconds. I said, thank you very much. You continue what we're doing. So that capacity, that cognizance to see where this direction is going, because it's very easy to find yourself in a gossip shop, because that's what most
Mm,
of these groupings are.
yeah.
Maybe the sometimes the objectives may be too huge, but you can split the objectives. You can say, let's take this time to learn new things.
Mhm,
You can use a space, connect it to maybe a YouTube video where you are learning. No, you are learning and coming
mhm,
up with the proposals and doing things. There's what we call, you are ticking off. Within like 3 months ago, we knew this. 2 months
mhm,
from now, we know. Even you can say, gentlemen, we've come after all the information we've gathered, the objectives are too big beyond our reach. Let's make
mm,
adjustments to do A,
mhm,
B, C, D. If you are not having such kind of tick-offs or
mm,
check-offs, uh, you are simply running a gossip space, a gossip cyberspace. And there's nothing wrong with running a gossip cyberspace as long as you've
mhm,
identified. We are here to gossip and talking about huge assets. No problem. Now you have identified this is what we are doing. But if you put, it's like saying a banner or a advert or a signpost that says restaurant, then you go in and you find it's a saloon. That's puniness. So we are
mm,
stuck in this cyber puniness whereby people actually inflate ourselves. We think you are big people, but when you step outside there, you are a nobody. Some of these online petitions people are putting, instead of
mm.
doing an online petition, why don't you write a document, a well
Yes.
researched document with data? Step one, send an email to the ministry. Step two, present yourself to the ministry. The good thing about most of these documents at these ministries, there's a stamp that this document has been received. The document has been received. You see, they stamp the received document, then they stamp the copy, your own copy. Now bring your copy, get into the Twitter page for that ministry and say, this is the document we put. Now you can do your online picketing because you've done something. But when you just go on the internet and you just type something and you sit back, relax, you are doing nothing. You are actually killing yourself. Walk into that ministry, demand to see so and so. If he's not there, drop the letter there, get the stamps of receiving, tell me when I can come back, leave your contact there. Go to Twitter, start pushing, saying that there's a document that is at a certain ministry highlighting A and B and C. The minister was not there, he's supposed to reach out to us. Now, the cyberverse, you have something to push on to. You can say I went there, or the Askaris did not want to see me, and what. Now that you're talking, now you're talking. But if you go to Twitter and do hashtagging, hashtag, this hashtag.
People do that and they think they have done something. Again, it's
No,
that aspect of their easy dopamine,
yeah.
simple activities that you can. I don't even think. I mean,
Take
what
take
effort is
the
just
hard
lifting your
step.
fingers
Mm.
and writing some few tweets. Yeah.
Right,
So.
go there, go to that. If it is a ministry or an authority, Go there. You want to see someone, is not there. This is a letter for him. Step two, is there someone I can talk to for the time being? I want audience with Mr. So on. Anyone who, because when a minister is not there, doesn't mean that work comes to a stop. There's a process going on.
Exactly.
So
Go to
currently,
the
link me to
yes.
someone I can talk to. Sit down, air your issues, talk to someone, document it if possible. If you are so serious, you can tell them, I'm recording this. Do you mind if I record? You do an audio record of the document of your meeting. Place it on
Mm,
Twitter. Now, whoever is on Twitter will say, now, this guy is serious. And each
yes.
time you commit, you go there, you want to commit there once a week. Each time you go there, every week, document, I've gone to this place.
And
Now,
it's
what
hard
is
work.
happening? That's what's happening now. The cyberspace is complementing your work. You
Yeah,
are making a
exactly.
visit every week, and you are documenting it on the internet or the
Site.
cyber
Mm,
on the
mm,
Twitter or YouTube. It is now one thing working with another. This issue of remaining only on Twitter is simply you are setting up a, let's say, a celebration. You're supposed to have a cake, and there's no cake. It's simply a lump of cream shaped like a cake. The internet is cream. The cake is you going out there. Like when I was pursuing that highway overwatch project at NTSA, I remember
mm,
going making over 8 visits to that place. And there's a place, if you are going on foot, you'll have to climb a hill.
mm.
That hill you are climbing while you are calling Jesus Christ. I used to call that hill I used to call it Golgotha.
Mount Golgotha.
You
Yeah,
are climbing
you know,
there. So
life has
um,
become so simple. It has become
yeah,
way,
very
way
simple.
too simple.
You tell somebody, what have you done? Oh, I've tagged NTSA on Twitter. Have you gone there? I visited the place. In fact, if you have some sort of a search warrant, you'll see some documents there with my name, with some of my associates. People was working them at that particular time. I used to climb
Mm.
that hill because as a hustler, there's some mathematics you do. That motorbike to climb you, they'll take you 100. You say, let me take it as though I'm at the gym. You climb halfway through, you realize, you look around, there are people around you because you're wondering, if I was alone, I would actually crawl. I'll go down on my hands and knees and start crawling because my legs are giving up. Now, that is what we are doing. Now, you take that and you mix it with what the Twitter and the YouTube and Facebook is offering. Tell them this is what we are doing. But if you sit in front of your laptop and you do hashtag NTSA, we need a system to blab, people look, kuna, nothing. So, as I said, we are in the easy times. We are
We
in
are
the
in the
easy
easy
times
time.
and we are creating hard times. And how do we create hard times? But by not doing the groundwork, not doing the hard work. If we do not do the hard work, will the zero bike be running? I'll just be
No?
stuck there. That's why when I posted the zero bike for the first time, I said the first line, I just don't talk about electric mobility. I be about electric mobility. Because Twitter will make you be someone who simply talks about it. So that if you go on my timeline, you'll see me talking about e-mobility. Then somewhere along you'll see my work. But if I spend year in, year out just talking e-mobility, people just, and then some guy who likes mouthing off about electric mobility, just another influencer or another what you call these guys who like blogging about politics. But not a single day will you see them campaigning. Not a single day will you see him going machinani in the rural areas campaigning for cause. I normally call them hot air politicians. Every
Mm.
day blogging about something. Oh, politics. But tell him, listen, okay, we'll give you a vehicle, we'll give you a motorcade. Go to Rachuonyo, Rukambani, or whatever, and do one full campaign for 1 week. Whoa, you know. So we are stuck. You just become a hot air character. We are just very powerful on the cyberspace,
Hmm.
typing things. But when we tell you to come live and talk about what you type about, it will be fumbling and stammering. So we are using the cyberspace as a cake when it is only should be a cream
Mm,
to enhance, to beautify what you are doing.
exactly.
Mm,
Exactly.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's well put. I totally agree with your points of view there, and I think they have hit the point. Um, I think let's transition to this. Earlier in the week, I think it was it last week probably, because it this probably came out Sunday this week. That's when I saw it. Was Rollo Tomasi, the godfather of the red pill movement? You know, the guy behind that famous book called The Rational Male. You know, was invited on primetime TV in the US. He was invited as a guest in the Dr. Phil show, and they were examining the topic. They call it the demise of guys. I have a lot to comment around that also. So let me quickly just show a glimpse of that show, and then we can discuss it further
No
and
problem.
see how that went. So just one
One
sec.
thing,
So let me.
as you run the show, let me
Yes.
get a glass of water. I've really rambled until my tongue is dry. Mm. And
Yes.
don't
Yes.
worry,
Do that.
I'm wearing a trouser. You know, sometimes some of these you wake up and worry, huyu jamaa amevaa nini bwana? It's a trouser, you see? Yeah.
I should show you what I'm wearing. I am not in the trouser group. So let me get this.
Yeah, that was that.
Good.
Yeah,
So
Rola
you've
Tomasi.
hydrated.
Yeah, a quick sip.
Great.
Can
So
roll
yes,
it, roll.
let me roll the tape.
Absolutely. What do you mean sedated by? Say, let's compare notes. Let's compare notes. Let's get media age.
Let me get him where he.
Guess I'll die alone. Yeah, unless you do something. And if that sounds like dumbing yourself down, then I don't really know what else to tell you.
Bro, welcome.
Thanks
for having me. So, your book and the things that you espouse predated Andrew Tate.
Yeah. By about 10 years. All I do is present facts. And what happens is particularly now, and I've been doing this for about 20 years, you will see a lot of come-ups right now who want to take it and run with it on TikTok. They want to take it and run with it on Instagram. We live in the social media age. And a lot of the work that I've done really for about 20 years right now gets distorted quite a bit. And I think we're at that point right now where things are getting distorted. And again, to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
Yeah. So why do they call you the godfather of the manosphere?
The manosphere is sort of a consortium of guys who get together and they compare notes. So the manosphere proper started right around, I would say 2002 in forums. It developed and evolved out of the old pickup artist seduction community forums that were online at that time. And then it developed into the blog era, and then it developed into the social media era. And now here we are in the YouTube era. And it's been, like I said, about 20 years coming right now. But the manosphere proper is a consortium of guys who get together and they compare notes about really three main things: money, muscles, and game. So, and by game, I use game in the terms of social skills at this point. So,
and these pickup artist sites that you're talking about, people were putting up websites and all about how to pick up women.
That originally was discussions on forums where men all over the world would get together and say, let's compare notes. Let's compare notes. Let's get together and let's see if we can figure this out.
Well, I've seen a lot of seminars and stuff where you can sign up and take a course, and they guarantee you if you have trouble getting dates or picking up women, they tell you that they guarantee you take this course, you'll date the hottest girl in the room. And
I don't know anyone that is guaranteeing that at this stage. I don't think anybody has ever guaranteed that. However, if there is a benefit, a net benefit for that, it is the fact that you can take a guy such as Ben here and level him up from, say, a 5 to a 6. Is that not an improvement? If you went from being ordinary to being somewhat extraordinary, is that not a net benefit to a gentleman like Ben here?
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography.
Today, that is the number one so that they can build their own. We have a generation of what we
Sedated by.
How old are you? 24.
About 24.
24 years
25 in a
old.
couple
So
weeks.
we're looking at a Gen Z. You're looking at a generation that was acculturated and socialized behind a screen. We have a generation of what we call lost boys right now who don't have a father figure. They don't have any guidance, whether it's masculinity or much else for that matter. And so, of course, if I can say, hey, look, I'm an older gentleman and I can help level you up, and common sense is so rare right now, we can commodify it, then I'm going to go and do my best to help men. I'm not in the business of helping men become better men. I'm in the business of helping men have the tools and the equipment so that they can build their own lives.
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean sedated by?
They're escapisms is what they are. If your crummy life is, if your escapisms are better than your crummy life, then you're going to dwell more in those escapisms. So what do men do today when they're addicted to pornography? Anyone in this room on their phone can go get hardcore pornography anytime they want to. There's a reason why it's free. If you go and you look at marijuana being legalized, if you look at the opioid epidemic right now, if you look at the way we sedate men today, that is the number one, I think anyways, is the number one problem that we're looking at for really the latter half of the millennial generation and all of Generation Z right now.
Yeah, and you talk about that the suicide rate for men is 3.5 to 5 times,
depending on
what it
whose
is.
numbers you're looking at and what the demographics are.
Yeah, than it is for women. And you interpret that as meaning what?
I interpret that as meaning that those are deaths of despair. We have a term for that right now. Men get zeroed out. They build up lives, they build up personalities, they build up life equity, let's just say. They lose a job, they lose their wives, they lose out on something, and no one is there to tell them how to bounce back from that rejection, how to bounce back from that defeat, how to come back from being zeroed out. So they're faced with two really very real decisions. One is rebuild yourself or delete yourself. And unfortunately, most men are deleting themselves right now.
Most men are deleting themselves. What?
Well, the prime demographic for suicide for men right now is 45 to 65 years old. It's what they call deaths of despair. We constantly harp on the fact that men don't have friends, they don't have close friends, they don't have the same networks that women do. And then we put the blame for their mental health back on them by saying it's toxic masculinity, and if you guys were just more like women, then you would reach out for therapy of some sorts. If women were killing themselves at 4 times the rate that men are, you would have a dedicated month and the NFL would change their uniforms to pink or something else so that we would have some sort of female suicide prevention month. But we don't see that right now because we blame it on toxic masculinity.
What do you mean when you say media celebrates masculinity as equaling acting feminine?
Well, that's the only time that the mainstream media will ever celebrate masculinity is when you see The Rock in a tutu. Whenever you see men behaving conventionally feminine, that's when the media decides to celebrate it. But yet when a guy is acting in a conventionally masculine way, we do not celebrate that, and we find some way to demonize that.
And what's conventionally masculine?
Men are, by and large, in a general sense, 99.9% larger, more muscular, more physically adept than women are. So we can look at what are the traits that are associated with that. But, determinism, determination.
How are men more determined than women?
Mentally speaking, If you look at the differences, the genetic differences between men and women, men tend to be more interested in things. Women tend to be more interested in people. Women tend to be in the social fields. Men tend to be in the more mechanical fields. So if there's a conventional masculinity, it's related to the way that our brains are structured. It doesn't have anything to do with social constructionism.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we're going to meet a father who says men have been left behind.
So it's a long video, but I guess you've seen the gist of it, and I think we've
Yeah.
played it quite long now. Let me just remove that for now. But you get the drift of it, and I think there was even a great discussion that he had with the other two guests that were invited. One was a guy who was supposedly fighting for men, but he's pushing this whole equality thing, and Rollo was pushing back, telling him men and women are essentially different. But he was saying, you know, if men are into engineering, let's also push women engineering, and all these fallacies that have been pushed for the last what 20 or so odd years now with the feminism movement and all these things. And then I think the earlier part which we've watched, we've seen him, you know, give sort of a state of men in this modern world that we live in, you know, that high suicide rate, that aspect where you're promoting feminism, where men are being told to, you know, put on a dress, behave like a woman, be more feminine, be more emotional, and also giving a history of how the red pill movement came about. So he has laid out, and I don't know if, I mean, I think you watched the entire thing. I did watch the entire thing. I do have quite a bit of comments to talk about in terms of the whole show, but I want to start off with your view of it and your reaction about Rollo's reactions and participation. I mean, that just the entire show.
My take is this: we shot ourselves in the foot. We shot ourselves in the foot when we made work easier. All right. The moment we made work easier, we shot ourselves in the foot. I'll give you, for example, piloting. It is men who created the autopilot programs. Now planes are very easy to fly. Let me tell you, somebody on my door.
Yeah, it seems like I had the doorbell ring. Yeah, just go ahead. This is how life happens, man. Live shows have live in them. So let's give Brian a minute to attend to that.
Yeah, that was my the guy who manages my garbage.
Okay, he's coming to get you to get
Bags.
your clean
He
up,
gives me
or
my
you're
bags.
receiving
Bags.
your garbage
So
bags. Okay.
so we shot ourselves in the foot. I don't know if it was intentionally or what. Like, for example, in aviation, it is men who develop the autopilot programs. Planes are relatively easier to fly than before. We look at most workplaces, the automation there, it is men who did it. It is men who automated so many processes. Now, what has happened? The work tasks have become a bit easy. The focus needed in operating whatever we do nowadays is less than the focus needed before. It is less physically demanding, it is less mentally demanding. So we created a space for women to slot in. So now we have a workspace that has, due to that, the tasks being made relatively easy, the focus requirement is less. So we have a space for emotions. So we have now allowed emotions to come in. We have now emotional people. Those are the ladies. Now that we have ladies have come into the workplace, They have come with their issues. It's like a prime mover tethered to a trailer. The prime mover is the woman, the trailer is the emotions. So that workspace that was heavily reliant on brute focus, brute force, has now been tempered down. For example, in aviation, some years ago, we needed to have what we call a flight engineer. The flight engineer was seated behind the two pilots, facing the side. Now we have an onboard computer that is sized a bit bigger than this. It's not all that big. It's a very small, it's like the size is smaller than a laptop. That is a flight computer. That one has taken the space of a flight engineer. That is just an example, because the flight engineer was the one who is do all that work that was being, all those calculations being done by the computer. They used to be done manually. So you can imagine the amount of focus needed on that job. Now that's just in aviation. So many sectors whereby things have become so easy, so that the brute focus, the quantity of focus has been reduced. We now have a computer doing things for you. You have automation doing things for you. Now your mind is more lax. And also women have come in. So there's a space for emotions. There's a space for depression. There's a space for being moody. You can actually operate a full day clicking approvals. Click OK, 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 enter, OK, enter. As opposed to days where a letter, a hard document is brought to your desk. You have to read and pursue that document. Pick up a call, your mobile, your phone, dial a number, question people. Right now, all you have to just go send a mail. Please explain A, B, C, D. That one also sends another mail. You have an exchange of mails discussing an issue. Before you read a hard document, you lift your phone and call someone, an explanation is given, you have a very long what we call breakdown of situation. But here just exchange of mails or WhatsApp, screenshots. That easiness has actually created a relaxed mind, a relaxed mental atmosphere. When you normally say a relaxed mind or an idle mind is a devil's workshop. That is why in organizations that are normally design oriented or innovation oriented, we rarely have times for, we rarely have such issues. When you are designing a new engine, when you are designing a vehicle, when you are designing a new system, you do not have time to be depressed. Because the good thing about design is design. Innovation is innovation. As much as you have softwares that can assist you with design, it is you to conceive the idea. So that is one of the few aspects I believe you're not going to have people having all depression. No. Chances are you just have people with what you call mental fatigue, because you spent 20 hours brainstorming over something. And where there's mental fatigue, you cannot be depressed. So at the end of the day, I think we shot ourselves in the foot. We are now places where there is no room for emotions. Emotions have come in, and we are now feeling out of place, because one, we are not emotion driven, we are logic driven. Now emotions are forced upon us in some of these circumstances. You are working with women. You are used to using your own lingo. Something simple like, hey, that's a nice dress, can land you in the HR's office. So basically, we have actually, I don't know if it is intentionally or not intentionally, we shot ourselves in the foot. That is, I don't know how things are before. I remember when I was applying for driver's license, when I was going for the exam, as much as I knew somewhere along the line, most of the time I'll be driving an automatic car, there was no exam for automatic car. The exam was a manual. In fact, manual was a lorry. So you have to drive manual. If you look at
I
the
thought they
Matatu,
train with stick shifts. Has it
yeah,
changed now?
I was meant to understand there was a place you can go train with automatic. Now look at places like Matatu sector. There are very
Yeah.
few women who are matatu drivers. Why? Because it's a stick shift. You have to plan
It's
your
a
gears.
stick.
You can't just reduce your speed haphazardly. You have to clutch in, reduce your speed, then you clutch out with the appropriate gear. You cannot put number three downhill. You can't do number one. You are going when you cannot do number one when your vehicle is not overloaded. When you are stopping your vehicle, you have to ensure that you press the brake, ensure that you cannot stop your vehicle while it is in gear. Such kind
Mm.
of mental computations go through your head. Do you have time to be stressed or
Mm.
having emotional issues where you are
It
planning your
it
gears?
it,
Even go
it even
to
in uh,
truck driving.
yes.
Before they used to have your fully manual vehicle. Now we have the
Mm.
Actros and the Scanias, which are largely automated. Now we have
Yeah.
women truck drivers. Me want
Oh
to see a
yeah.
woman truck driver driving 1984 Fiat.
And you know
And
those
it's not that
steerings never
not
used to
that I'm
be power
not
steering.
that I'm downplaying women, but I'm saying
Mm.
that aspect of making things easy has created a slot for women, and they have brought in that element of emotions. And some of these emotions have somehow managed to filter into the manosphere. We now have a man saying that he's feeling moody. I came to work, I was not in a good mood. If you are going to can you really be talking of moods when you are waking up in the morning to drive that Fiat, whereby I don't know, it has what you call high and low gear, both manual. You have to engage high, then disengage high, then engage low manually. Do you really have time to be depressed with what?
No.
With your clutch? Hmm? Exhaust brake is depressing you. Oh, look at these old trucks that I need use. I don't know if in Kigali they are old, but the trucks in Kenya that used to suck out sewage. There's a very popular one that's called Hanisaka. Those are old manual
Hanisaka,
vehicles.
yeah.
Have you seen a woman driving any of those vehicles? No,
Mm.
because those are workplaces that have zero space for emotions. You can't say there's an overflowing sewage pit, but today I'm not in the mood, my friend. You will drive that vehicle. So what we have actually shot ourselves in the foot by making work so easy that we now have space for emotions. We have space for depression. We have for space for feeling moody. We have space for I'm feeling psychologically tormented, and that's the funny phrases that I keep on hearing. If I can get your view on that also.
Yeah, no, that's true. That concept of life, and we are just talking about it as we are talking about this concept of mental health and life now in this modern age that we are living in, where we've got all these creature comforts that are at our disposal. Yeah, women have joined the trucking industry. There are many women that are trucking. I see videos on YouTube of, particularly in places that in US where you've got those some of those automatic trucks, and how the whole system is organized. Even when they're changing in terms of their carriers, it's not such a heavy handed, something that requires a lot of muscle. It's easy to latch in your carrier and unlatch it and those kind of things, so they're able to do some of these things that before was so hard. And and that's the reason why we've actually made women more men, and I think we've discussed this more. I even look at my own life. I look at our own upbringing, and I have four sisters, one brother, but our lives are more or less the same. Probably the only thing me and my brother never used to do is the cooking, but every other thing, we were doing. We had a rota where we would clean dishes. So my upbringing, both my sisters and myself and my brother, were all sort of given the same level playing field. And it's not that there should be favoritism or whatever, but I think there should be a cognizance of these are women and girls and these are men, and certain things, like probably, and that's the reason why, now a lot of women are not getting married from an early stage. They're not being taught to be wives and the mothers and whatever. So that it's like that concept of being a nurturer, you should have it automatic. And it is true, because you're endowed with certain things naturally, certain things might come up to you more naturally as a woman vis-a-vis a man. But I think there should have been a more intentional training, for example, from my mother, in terms of how she brings up or nurtures my sisters. It should have been a very intentional, very deliberate, and a different kind of training from
So just to
what we have. So
so
our
one
upbringing
thing,
was more or less the same.
if I'm to ask you,
Mhm.
so from your upbringing, your sisters think it's normal for a man to wash utensils.
Yeah.
Are they married?
hmm One is married. Actually, two are married, but two are not married. So that tells a lot, and it's not a question of castigating them or whatever, but you see that same thing replicated in family after family, where in this modern age you're told a man and a woman are the same. Actually they have this popular saying, what a man can do, a woman can do even better.
Yeah, yeah. What a man can do, a woman can do better. The only problem is that they don't include that. I normally say I have my own version. If a woman can do what a man can, what a woman what a man can do, a woman can do better. That should include screwing things up.
Exactly.
Uh, you should include
And
screwing
normally
because
they will
it's
not do that.
mm,
Yeah, that's the thing. So
mm.
I think now that things are getting crazy, I think probably we should now start seeing families adopting a different approach. If you have girls, let them start doing, and then being very deliberate about it, being taught, when you grow up, you need to be married off. What does that entail? And I think our forefathers, if you go back culturally, you find that kind of teaching was baked into how, because women would spend time with their mothers and their aunties, and they'll start being deliberately and intentionally being taught, how do you take care of a home, how do you nurture your kids, and those kind of things. But now in this modern age, we've made them all the same. And now you can see the confusion coming in with all these things they are bringing in called transgender, and a host of other things. So they're just mudding the entire pool with a lot more confusion. So yes, I agree with that element. Now, to talk specifically about this show, some few things stood out for me. I've never quite watched Dr. Phil. Maybe a few glimpses here that I shared online. But one thing that struck me is I noticed that he seems to run that show with his wife. There are
Yeah.
points where even you see the camera would span into the wife and show her reaction as he was making his monologue or his presentation. And that for me was a red flag again. You can now start seeing the programming that has been happening. I mean, why does his wife need to get involved in his sort of, if you might call it, his career or profession? Not
And
that
then
they
they
can, but
should call it Doctor and Mrs. Phil Show.
exactly, it's called a
Mm,
Dr. Phil show for a reason. It's not a
mm,
Dr. Phil and wife show.
mm,
um, but you see, this is the subconscious programming that they start pushing us through,
mm.
because you can imagine, from when you are young, from primary to high school, you are being taught about, getting girlfriends and all these things that were just putting the man off his game, and mostly pushed to put the woman as a worship of a man, or as a goal of a man. So that stood out for me. The second thing, that this young guy that they brought in, um, as much as I agreed with his contribution, I think they didn't bring in a good example. And it was for, and I bet, this American shows, because anything that comes on an American screen, no, it has been evaluated and scrutinized. Nothing happens there by mistake.
By chance.
They couldn't even bring a stronger. The guy looked a bit weak, and even I was seeing even at some point when the camera was being panned into him. Uh, it looked like he's also sort of sedated, or he doesn't look active with energy and all that. So,
Initially, I thought he was a
mm,
parody of Andrew
mm,
Tate. Mm. Initially, I thought he was a
exactly,
parody. Mm.
it didn't project, and that was for a reason. I mean, just even look at the title of the show, "The Demise of Guys." Why don't they put the word men? Guys, as you know, sometimes can even be used to incorporate women. Hello, guys.
Yes.
You come into a room and there are men and women, you can call them guys. Yeah, it is sometimes used synonymously to refer to men or a male person. But why not use the word men? Men. Because men has got a very strong meaning. It has in it masculinity. It has in it the sex of that person. It has in it it has all the connotation of what it means to be a man. So
I think the show had
I
some sort of
yeah,
apologies undertones.
it
Some
does.
sort of yeah.
Even when he started, he said Andrew Tate is pushing this misogyny gospel, basically, trying to demonize his message, and they call it toxic masculinity, all these negative terms that they try and put. So, I became a bit of a DCI as Andrew tries to put it. So I was looking at all these things in and around the program to try and understand what's the story behind the story. And you can see, one, they didn't get a good person to project true masculinity, the true image of a man. I do thank Rolo. Rolo did come out quite strongly. But then another thing, which is very, which defines mainstream media is, the show had a lot of breaks, and this is synonymous with anything that is on mainstream
On
media channels
mainstream.
or networks. You can't have a long conversation uninterrupted. Even the subject they were talking about, this usually is structured as a 1 hour show, but typically you've got 15 minutes of ad space, and then you've got breaks in between. So it turns out to be just a 30 minutes show in essence. So the whole
Mm.
content, and you can see there were points that, particularly the segment that I didn't show, where Rolo was now engaging with some of these guys. One of the guys that was involved in pushing for Andrew Tate to be banned on social media, and another guy who is supposedly pushing for men and boys, but in essence is is just an apologist for the feminist group. Pushing all this equality agenda. I think they even spoke about that aspect of, is it equality of opportunity or equality of outcome? And I don't know what's your take about that. So the whole show is just another small smoke screen. It might be seen to be promoting the man's cause, but in essence, it's not.
Um,
At some
on
point,
my take,
it's
on my take,
demonizing the man, but trying to be seen to be promoting him, but it's not.
I think again, uh, there are times when the matrix will make you think that you are outside the matrix. Because for one, if you are bringing someone who is supposed to be pro Andrew Tate, and the guy from the What Go looks like a parody, well, that smells like a matrix to me.
Yeah, it is.
You have to
It
you
is.
have to you have to believe that the matrix will always one. You see, one thing you are seeing is that the matrix is evolving. It is taking different. What's the name of this thing? Where the matrix mutates. It is
Mhm.
mutating. it is realized that each time you try to sort of try to decipher something, it brings you another version of what you're trying to decipher. It makes you
Mm,
think you are moving in the right direction. While in essence, you are simply treadmilling, running on a treadmill. For example, if you are running on a matrix and say, in essence, in reality, you are running on a treadmill, and the matrix wants you to believe that you are running on real life, what is going to happen? It may lift up the treadmill a bit so that you think you are running uphill. You're not running uphill. It is only the treadmill which has lifted. They'll even place a fan in front of you to think that you are running along the beach, but in essence, you are in the room. So when the one they brought this guy, one thing I noticed, this guy looks. Initially, I thought before I put, I think I increased the volume. I thought this guy was a parody to Andrew Tate. Uh,
it looks like
Secondly,
Andrew Tate, but it's not.
because and then secondly, uh, one of aspects like whenever we hear there's a term, there's a certain phrase that Andrew Kibe likes using: "Talk from your chest." The guy,
Mm,
whatever he was saying, he sounded so subdued. He sounded so
exactly.
measured. He sounded
Yeah.
like he was on a leash. He sounded so
Mm,
measured. So as much as the word sounded positive, but the picture was off. And one of the hallmarks of a matrix is you notice something is off.
hmm
Something is completely off. Because if I wanted to bring in someone who's talking, representing masculinity, look for those guys who work on those what we call the high tension lines, those power
hmm
lines. I'll bring those people who work there. Those are people who work without emotions. Those people who build skyscrapers. I'll bring one of them to talk on what is about being a man, not someone who seems to have specifically prepared, because it was like a parody or a mockery. Because they'll be like, now look at the guy who's representing you. It looks like
Exactly.
he has not even eaten breakfast. Mm.
But
So
you see, finish up.
my take is that that was simply another mutation of the matrix,
Mm,
because men's issues cannot be, in fact, it is very unlikely serious men's issue to be discussed on Dr. Phil.
yeah,
Dr.
I
Phil
agree.
and Steve Harvey. That is
And
a no.
Steve,
You cannot tell me that.
oh man, you're so
Mm,
right on that. And that's the thing because
mm,
I think as you said, and I've always commented on some of these things on Twitter where I say there's this concept called controlled opposition,
yeah.
where as much as you're pushing a particular agenda, you don't want to be seen outrightly as just pushing that agenda. So
Mm.
you sort of disguise yourself as you're for whatever you desire. In this case, maybe for masculinity, but in essence, you're pushing the opposite, and
And
that's why
and
for me that
this guy, Piers Morgan, brought in
Piers
Andrew Tate.
Morgan,
What was
yes,
preventing Dr. Phil at that time from also bringing Andrew Tate? Why wait
exactly.
until Andrew Tate is locked up? Then you bring a very drained version of this guy to make it worse, a bald-headed guy with specs,
hmm
to talk in a very subdued tone, to talk in a tone that suggests that he has not eaten for days, talking in a tone that suggests like somebody grabbing by the throat and tell, if you talk in a certain way, I'm going to slap you thoroughly. Talk on this topic but be mild. That mildness, that is another symptom of the matrix.
yeah.
Men
I
talking in
was
a
even
mild.
watching.
Hmm,
Yeah, I was even watching the guy seated on the seat, and his legs were hanging. Yeah, probably the seats are a little too high, and he's a short guy. But it looked a very childish kind of a view.
hmm,
Like you've put a small boy there, and that should be the
It's a
projection of a
mockery. It's a
strong
mockery.
masculine man. It is.
Mm, mm.
But you got it right, I think, when you said, um, what did you say there? You're saying the just remind me. I seem to have missed that point again.
Like a mockery of Andrew Tate or something.
Yeah, but there's something you said just before that, before I jumped in.
Uh, a toned down version of Andrew Tate or something. That is it.
Yeah, something of that kind. Anyway, I think there's
So,
something that which was a good point. I think I wanted to just
mm,
um, mention it again. But
mm.
yeah, the whole show itself was the whole presentation, raised quite a number of flags. And then I was even looking at the audience. I think at some point, yeah, there's some point they had a shot of some young men that were in sitters there. Then, of course, a shot of the guests, those two men that were invited to counter Rolo. Um, but it's like the entire audience was more feminine with females or women than men. You're having a show talking about the demise of men, what you termed as the demise of guys, and there are no men representation there, at least a good number of them. The women should have been the few of them. So again, and you notice a lot of these daytime shows from America, they all pander to the woman. You know,
Yeah,
it, Dr. Phil came in to replace, I think, probably Oprah, or it was Steve Harvey who came in, and again, they still promote that whole love Hollywood kind of messaging, where a man is kneeling down to give a woman the
a
ring,
flower.
where a man is literally putting his life down for a woman. It's all this kind of messaging that a lot of these daytime shows have. Yeah, I don't know if you have any other final thoughts on that before we begin wrapping up.
I think most important thing is let us be cognizant to the matrix.
Mm,
Yeah, look for cues, look for clues that tells you that this is wrong. For example, you cannot say that we have a show that is leaning in masculinity, that is pushing for masculinity. Then the show is appearing on Dr. Phil. Impossible.
mm, yeah.
We have a show appearing on Steve Harvey fighting for men. Although there are aspects where, okay, Steve is not like Dr. Phil. There are aspects when Steve has actually come out very strongly in favor of men. But then again, that is a matrix. It it tells you that I'm on your side, but deep down you know, we know you. We've seen you from far. Mm,
Exactly.
mm,
It's all those
mm,
kind of cues. They will
mm,
not. They will never be 100%
mm,
against men,
yeah,
but they want to pull you in, and they first pull you in by showing you, and
mm.
they are on your side, but really they are not. And I think when you think
And you
about
see,
it,
whenever you
also,
see a show
mm,
where
yeah,
the attendants, some of the people on the audience, is a man who was attending with his wife, that is cleanliness.
like
See, the man is attending.
exactly,
So when you are returning home, who is going to cook now? You obviously
exactly.
you'll be leaving that place hungry. So who is going to cook?
Who's taking
Obviously,
care
you
of the
get home, then
household?
they'll tell you, honey, do the ugali, I'll do the veggies, and you're like, okay.
You
Mm.
even show you even saw when it was ending, he walks down with his wife. There are some segments they have created where the wife is now participating, like a game show that has been incorporated in the whole show. That this
Matrix,
is very subtle.
matrix.
When you understand the matrix, you can now be able to begin seeing those cues, those red flags,
And
and
funny enough, to some extent,
mhm,
there are days, in fact, some of the things I normally think of, uh, there are times, I don't know if it's a moment of weakness, I wish I did not understand the matrix because that ignorance is so beautiful. That ignorance is fantastic. Get a
mhm.
good job, marry, have children. It's beautiful. But when you are here, oh, Zero Bike, I don't know. The Zero Bike had a mishap. They want money for this. And you're like, "Ah." So sometimes you would wish you were still ignorant. But then again, you cannot unlearn what you've learned. You are now
Exactly.
aware of the matrix. You cannot be unaware of the matrix.
Yeah.
As much as my previous life was quite blissful, I cannot unlearn what I've learned about the presence of the matrix.
But don't you think actually
So,
this life is more blissful that now you are aware than the one
yeah.
that you are not? I mean, we are just talking about those elements, so-called mental health, because when you're
Mm,
consumed in the whole matrix
mm,
messaging,
mm,
you now get consumed in its lies, and then you get caught up in its traps, and one of the traps is getting yourself caught up in that depression, caught up in that mental state which is not fulfilling. So
mm,
now that you're actually aware and you can see things for what they are, and you even have better control of your own life, and
mm.
you live a lot more fulfilling life. So I think for me, and I think you would agree with this, because it's a more fulfilling life now that you're aware of how the world works. Um, yeah, and it's like something that switches on in your brain, because you know the way we've been able to diagnose Dr. Phil and Dr. Steve Harvey, to some people, they're totally blind to this. Um, but because that switch in your mind was turned on, even if a new variation of a Dr. Phil appears, you'll
You
be
will
able to
catch it.
see it, you'll catch it for what it is. Yes. And even this masculinity messaging has become very popular. So everyone is jumping on it, and some are jumping on it more as a cloud chasing thing, as a quick way to make a quick buck.
As long as
So,
things like Dr. Phil and whatnot, as long as something is being provided for you free,
mhm.
free information is very dangerous. So who is covering the cost of you showing me this stuff?
Mm.
Hmm. So chances are I am the product.
You're the product,
Hmm.
100%. You're the product. I think, yeah,
Hmm.
that's the thing.
The
Yeah, I think
matrix is
that's.
a factory, and I'm the product. I'm supposed to be shaped to take a
Mm.
particular to fit into that mold. So once you are cognizant of these things, one the problem is that as much as you'll be working in awareness, you'll miss out on the blissfulness of
Mm.
ignorance. Mm.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
You'll
sometimes
miss
there's a
out.
bit of a
I've
bliss that
seen
you
I've
get.
seen somewhere people are seated with their girlfriends and whatnot, and me alone with myself. So I'm looking. These guys are very happy. Then what I'm noticing is that the, most of the times it is the ladies, the men who are convincing the ladies over something. Let's go this place. No, 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 that place in Animbo. Okay, so let's change. So to them it's very normal, but to me I'm looking at boss. All your decision making is being shut down. It's being
Mm.
shut down with a smile and a beautiful voice. But you are being shut down. You are being shot. Anything you dis that means if these things, even in public, you are being shot down in a very beautiful and soothing way. In your house, I think that's why I think you get somebody committing suicide. Yeah, I used to wonder why is somebody committing suicide in his 50s. I think that
Mm.
the rubbish has accumulated to a point where the guy just can't take it anymore. So
Yeah.
you miss out on the blissfulness. But I
Mhm.
say I'd rather walk on this rocky path that is true rather than on
Mhm.
a tarmac road that's not actually tarmac, it's actually painted
Mhm.
tarmac. You are being convinced this is
Ah,
a very smooth road and it's actually heading to a cliff. And you normally see
correct.
one of the aspects of masculinity is truthfulness. That is why when you are when you are seducing a girl, you use lies. because you have now deviated from your truthfulness. You are now pursuing a woman. You have gone to the pursuit of pussy. Now you are out of your train of thoughts. Now you have to use lies. So one aspect of true masculinity is truthfulness. So the moment you are in blissfulness, again, you are out of your masculine element, and I think it comes to bite you in the end. We hear people committing suicide in 50s, being divorced in their 60s, and some kind of stuff. So we'd rather walk on this rocky path of the truth. That's my take. It's not pleasant, but there's an interior aspect of satisfaction when you know the truth. It may not be
The truth.
very pleasant to hear, but as I said, I normally tell people I'm not here for a good time. Whenever I'm having difficulties, like this week has been completely crazy, I tell them, Brian, is there a document that says that you are here to have a good time? Is there a
Correct.
binding statement that says now you have come to the world? Welcome, let the good times roll in. No.
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
good times
we are,
begin.
yeah, I'm here for some purpose, and I think it's not how it should not be a walk in the park. That is why we opted for the Zeo bike and not a chicken farm. Yeah. So, as I said, as much as there's no bliss, these hard times are facing are contributing to strengthening of my mental muscles. There's nothing wrong with having physically masculine demeanor. It's okay. So it's good for your health, but psychological muscles will carry you through the day. Psychological muscles will keep you smiling. Not necessarily will keep you stable when you have 10 failures. 1 to 10, everything has failed. It is that psychological grit that will keep you pushing. But when you are on the feminine or on the dopamine express, you only need one failure and you tie a noose on your neck and you take yourself
Mm.
out. As Rollo Tomassi says, taking themselves out. So that the same way, you are not hearing a lion getting depressed.
Exactly.
The job of
They
a lion
don't.
is to hunt. And most of the time, some lions get hurt, some die. You're
Yeah.
not going to hear, oh, we have our cousin here who got killed by a buffalo, so we are going to a zoo so that we'll just be given meat and eat at the zoo and doing backflips to entertain visitors. No lion is going to think like that. Lions get killed, but they keep hunting. But if we switch to
No.
this style of dopamine, things didn't go well today, so Andrew, let's postpone the show to next Saturday. That is the failure express, and the rate at which we are going, there are going to be very very few of us taking this trajectory. But we keep on pushing, as I keep saying, we keep on pushing. Even if there are the two of us here, let's keep pushing. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Mm.
The truth will set you free. And I think
Indeed.
there's
Indeed.
nothing to stand on but the truth
Mm.
and reality.
Mm.
And as they say, survival for the fittest. We live in a world because it's so easy.
Mm.
Sometimes we are prolonging lives that shouldn't be prolonged. When
Yeah,
that lion gets hurt, it just goes out in the forest and
guys.
it dies because
Mm.
it now realizes now it's not fit to operate in this cutthroat environment that it is, but
And
because
the
everyone
beauty,
has to get
and the
an
beauty of
award.
it, coming to think
Now,
of it, the beauty of all it
yeah,
is this: we need
yeah,
very little. You need your mental health
hmm,
and your physical health to keep pushing.
that's it.
So when you hang somebody commits suicide, he was of sound mind and he was not sick, but he still took himself out. That's a loss.
It's a loss, it's
That's
a
a loss.
tragedy, but maybe they're better off because he couldn't fight in the real world, and because you
No, I'm
lived in a
saying he could.
delusional.
he could. He
He
was
had all
mentally
the
sound.
elements. Yes, he had
The
all the
mentally
tools.
sound. That's why I'm comparing with a lion. The
Yeah,
only
that's
time a lion will take himself out is when
yeah,
he's physically taken out.
exactly,
But you have
exactly.
a human being here. Just because maybe you cannot afford to stay in Runda, you commit suicide. I live in Athi River, a very dusty place. I'm here.
Mm.
You can move from Athi River from Runda to Athi River.
Yeah,
Even in military, people with strategies, we can change our combat position. We are taking too much hits. So you hear that somebody had to sell his car. Then he had to move to, say, Donholm from Karen. Then suicide. Why? Because he can no longer drive. You are taking yourself out. You are not, the system has not taken you out. You took yourself out. From our end, I can only say the only thing that should take you out is disease. Only.
exactly,
You get
exactly.
shot or you get beaten up by thugs, now you can say you are out. But as long as you are walking, and I normally tell people uh, on this aspect of depression, whatnot, let's say you have 1,000 shillings, and you say with that 1,000 shillings, you go to this Carrefour. You're going to
Mhm.
get depressed. Stuff is expensive there. You have 1,000 shillings. You go to the alchemist, this club. You're going to get depressed. You have 1,000 shillings. You
Mm.
start attempting to take a chick out on a date. Depression. But if you have 1,000, yeah. But if you have 1,000 shillings, take 200 shillings, buy this, I don't know, telecom or whatever bundle,
Mhm.
get into YouTube, look for something that is along your area of interest, download some videos, draw a very nice proposal, print it out nicely, walk into some NGO. Hey, I have a proposal on A, B, C, D, what not? Can we now
Mm.
at least you are not tamarking with an application letter. You are tamarking with a
Mm.
proposal that an NGO can pick.
Correct.
You are doing
A better
something.
way to
Hmm.
it's a better way to apply for a job rather than
Yeah,
the traditional way. If you send in your CV, they'll just push it in the bin. But if you come with
yeah.
them with a solution that you can
Yes.
offer them,
You have a
then they'll
problem
give you a time.
ABCD. You being an NGO is there where you can work on this ABC like that. I'm not saying you are going to succeed on day one. You're not going to succeed. You may even you may end up hustling for even 10, 15 years, but it is an uphill climb. You are doing something. There's attraction somewhere. If somebody asks you, hey, by the way, what are you doing? I write. I'm a proposal writer. In fact, there was a time, yeah, there was a time someone because there was a time when the Zio bike took a very huge hit when someone conned us. So I was used to sit with my small money, come up with a proposal on ABC. They talk to there's somebody else, Brian, Zio bike Imelala. What are you doing? I said I'm a solution developer. I develop
No, that's
solutions.
it.
Huh?
That's
I'm
actually
not
a good way. I
saying
mean, I think
I'm not saying that my solutions are being accepted. No. I said I'm a solution developer. So it creates some bit of
exactly.
curiosity. Solution develop. What do you mean? I identify problems, then I craft out proposal solutions. You're doing something, but
You're
someone
doing
decides
something.
to hang himself. See, you have not. The system has not taken you out. You took yourself out. You do not get shot. You're not sick. You've not been slaughtered. You've not been beaten. People are living,
No,
people are doing out, you are meeting people out there doing things, solution development, writing proposal. You look at that guy's account, bank account, 100 shillings, Fuliza, tag, Tala, what not, branch, they're on his case, but he's still pushing. It's not good. In fact, such a person has a very good right to hang himself, but no way. You keep pushing.
no. That's the thing. I think
Hmm.
partly is the reason why many people end up, sort of taking their lives is is living in maybe I'll call it delusional state where they feel that things should always work out for them.
Is there a
That, as you
binding
say,
document for that?
i- living in that blissful life, and then when they encounter this kind of challenges,
No, me, I
they
normally
feel,
ask, is there a
yeah,
binding document that says now, Andrew Mutua, everything will go your way? Everything will
no,
be
this,
wonderful. There's no binding. So once you are ascertained that there is really no binding document, it's an open space. You try everything. In fact, we are living in a world where we are surrounded by so many problems. All you need is just one document, some tamaki, and somebody, hey, this is what we've been looking for. Like
mhm,
recently, I wanted to ask someone if there's any NGO that deals with handcart pushers. I was thinking of a handcart, where
mhm.
the bars where they hold it. Behind it, we put
Yes.
a support. Then on top of it, a shed, not just a shed. We put a solar panel, a small battery,
Mm,
and a fan. So that as he's
so the,
walking, there's a solar powered fan keeping him cool.
yeah.
All you need to do is to walk into some NGO because NGOs are always looking for opportunities to bring in money. And the NGO,
Hmm.
an NGO can only be given money if they have an idea,
Mm,
right? And most of these places are just walking. Or if you just send mails, you can say no problem. There's no issue in sending them. Send a mail, attach your
mhm.
documentation. Because I know, so as somebody who has written proposals here and there, writing a proposal is quite it's quite a task. Needs a lot of data
Mm,
collection. What not? That aspect already keeps you from being depressed. It's the same way for an aeroplane to remain afloat. It has to keep on powering so that there's that aerodynamic lift on its wings. So keep your mind powering, power your mind throughout. But if you say that, oh, this thing didn't work out, I have no use for the, okay, you have declared that you're no longer of any use to the world. The world has not declared you useless. You declared yourself useless.
you declared
And
yourself. You
then,
took yourself out of the game.
then you took yourself out. So it's very unfortunate that men are going through this, that we do what we got to do. We do what we got to do.
We do what we gotta do. Thanks, Brian. I
One
think that
hour,
has been.
42 minutes. And a few hours
Hey,
ago, we were like, can we do this thing today? Tutaweza kuwa ni leo. And we do 1 hour,
we,
42 minutes.
we were even asking ourselves, what are we going to talk about? If you
Nah,
remember, just earlier on before we went live.
yeah,
But
we said, hey, what topic?
conversation gets a life of its own. It's amazing. It's so interesting. It reminds me of those long Twitter
Mm.
spaces of Kibe. They
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
seem like they are rudderless, but before you know it, you're onto a subject that goes on for 7, 8 hours, and people don't want to get off. They're just saying, let's just shut this thing right now before we end up shutting down Twitter spaces. So,
You see,
I,
one thing I say,
yeah.
when like-minded people come together, good things happen. Now
Hmm.
imagine we are having these discussions and we have some billions to spare. Imagine what we would build.
Mm, it's a
Mm.
lot more. When you bring those like minded together, there's nothing that is impossible.
Yeah.
Literally, there's nothing that is impossible.
Because I remember a few minutes, I think just a few minutes before live, we were doubting ourselves.
Each
A
we were
few
just
minutes.
yeah, when we were saying,
Mm.
man, are we gonna do
Why?
this thing today or no?
And here we are. This is the
But
longest. This is the longest we've
yeah,
ever
this is
gone.
the longest, and we could still go on. We could still
You know?
go on. Yeah. But
Anyway,
let me appreciate some of the guys that came on. We had Sharif Mustafa all the way from Ohio, and we had also Dennis
Dennis
Nguge.
Ngugi,
I'm not
he
sure
had
where
to go and
Dennis is joining us from, but yeah, thanks for coming. And I think there were many others, some that were not on the chat box.
anyway, I think it's been a fantastic session. You can give your closing remarks.
I think we've said it all. I think this are quite some good, interesting conversations as we are talking about. We started off with, I think, motivation. Then we went into Rollo's reaction on his appearance on Dr. Phil. We've we finished it off with suicide and why suicide. Talking about life and how easy it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think those are some very rich conversations. That's it from me. I don't know if you have anything to close on your end.
I'm already closed, my friend. I'm already closed.
Great, man. Thanks again. I appreciate you coming on board. Let's do this again, even when we
Again
don't
and
feel
again and
like it.
again, over and over and over. So see you next
Over and
Saturday.
over.
We are out.
Signing off. Thank you very much.